What's up, Connor High? I'm Ian, and welcome to Real Talk, KTG's talk show. In today's show, we have some actors from CHS here to talk about themselves, so stay tuned for today's edition of Real Talk. Once again, today we would like to welcome our special guest panel. Let's start by welcoming our guests. Aubrey, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Aubrey Neighbors. I'm a sophomore and I'm doing sound for our next production of Eurydice.
And Adriana?
My name's Adriana Loafman. I'm a sophomore and I'm playing the big stone in Eurydice.
And finally, Buck.
My name is Buck Bloom. I'm a junior and I will be playing Father in Eurydice.
And so, Buck, when did you start acting?
I started acting when I was in 7th grade, 5 years ago.
Same question to you, Aubrey?
I started acting probably when I was 8 or 9, but I really started getting into it in 7th grade.
And to you too, Adriana.
I started acting 4 years ago in 7th grade.
And so, would you consider yourself a musical actor, though?
I can do musicals. I've done musicals, but I primarily do plays, so not really.
Would any of you consider yourselves musical actors?
I might. I've been in a few small musicals when I was really young, but not really.
No, I can't sing at all. It would be horrible.
Could you ever see yourselves doing any musical?
Yep.
You could? And what was your first production that you had a role in?
The first production I like to count as my big first role would be Jonathan Harker in Dracula, my freshman year.
And what about you?
My first main named role was in 8th grade when we did A Midsummer Night's Dream, where I was the fairy queen Titania.
Adriana?
In 7th grade, I was Lord Capulet in Romeo and Juliet.
And can you guys explain your experience about doing your first roles?
It was a big deal for me. I was a freshman coming into a high school I've never been in, and getting casted with a decently sized role, it was uplifting, to say the least.
All right, you too, Aubrey?
It was really fun because I got to have a real costume and I wasn't just an unnamed part, and I liked being the center of attention for once.
I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and you build this community with your fellow castmates.
Is that what really motivated you guys to keep going in theater?
Yes.
Yep. And all right. Well, thanks so much for sharing, guys. Next up, we'll talk more about the productions they have been involved in right after this quick break.
Turn to page 2 in the textbook.
With all due respect, sir, page 2 of the textbook is boring as that.
Yeah, that is boring.
Don't want to do that.
This is a profanity-free environment, and we're not gonna allow that kind of language here. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. At Conroe High School, our expectations are gonna be high, and you need to learn how to control that in the hallways and in class. All right? Yes, sir.
Welcome back, guys. Let's dive back into these questions. So, Buck, how many productions have you been in total?
I would like to say I've only been in 12, but that number can be slightly decreased since some of them have been kind of short or kind of useless,
Mm-hmm. What about you, Aubrey? How many productions have you been in?
I've been in a lot, probably too many to count, but I would say it's somewhere around 10 since I did some shorter ones when I was really young.
What about you?
I've been in 9 productions.
And so you guys don't consider the shorter ones to be a full production?
No, I mean, well, they are fun and they're great for building character and all that. But when you run a play that's only 5 minutes long, it's like reading a short story. You're not reading a book, you're reading a short story.
No, that makes sense. And what was your most recent production that you ran?
The one we're working on right now, which is Eurydice.
Is that all your most recent productions?
Well, last year we did 12th Night, and that what I would be considering is my most recent production. Even though we are working on Eurydice, 12th Night is what we did last.
Can you guys explain anything about Eurydice right now?
Yes, Eurydice is a spin-off on the Greek tragedy Orpheus, based on a contemporary view of the heroine's story, Eurydice herself, and how she meets up with her father in the underworld.
And so, what is your favorite production?
My favorite production that I've personally been in was probably when we did Schoolhouse Rock when I was in 7th grade. It was like my first real musical, and it was just really fun to bond with the people I was in the class with.
What about you, Adriana?
My favorite is probably A Midsummer Night's Dream that I did in 8th grade. It was such a fun show, and we took it to the Renaissance Festival, which was always a great time.
And lastly, back to you, Buck. What was your favorite production?
Well, my favorite character had to be Toby Belch in Twelfth Night, but for production, I really liked Dracula. It was such a tight-knit group of small actors, and I really felt welcomed as a freshman in that big show.
And so, for our last question, what was your biggest production you guys have been in? We'll start with you, Audrey.
I think my biggest production was either Twelfth Night or Schoolhouse Rock. Twelfth Night had a lot of characters in it, and a lot of people were a part of it. But Schoolhouse Rock also had a lot of people, but I think Twelfth Night was more of a real production because we had a big set and everything. So I would probably say Twelfth Night.
What were you, Adriana?
Probably the biggest one I've been in is Freaky Friday, which I did outside of school a few summers ago, but it was a pretty big cast and we had a lot of fun.
And lastly to you, Buck.
I'm going to have to go with Dracula again. It was my first play, and it was 3 hours long. So we had a lot of intermissions, a lot of set changes and costume changes. It was a real big deal for me.
Well, it was great hearing what y'all had to say. We're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more with our actors here.
In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, we want to tell you a little about Liana Rose Lehitin. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but a former United States representative. She was born on July 15th, 1952 in Havana, Cuba. She was the first Latina in the Florida Senate, the first Latina and the first Cuban American in Congress, and the very first woman to ever be a chair of a regular standing committee of the House. Please join us for this year's Conroe FFA Halloween meeting on October 19th in the Bistro at 6 p.m. We will be having a costume contest and treats. Come out and watch players from the men's and women's soccer team try to take on the faculty in a soccer match. You must purchase a ticket to attend. For more information, see Mr. Meyer. We want to congratulate Mr. Lindemann as being nominated as Teacher of the Week. They were nominated by Yaffany Leroy. Make sure to go to ktignews.com and fill out the Google form for a chance for one of your favorite teachers to be nominated as Teacher of the Week. The University of Houston at Victoria is a short 2.5-hour drive from Conroe and within 2 hours of both Austin and San Antonio. The student population of UH Victoria is approximately 4,300 students, which is almost the same amount as 9th grade campus and main campus combined. They offer degrees in criminal justice, business, nursing, and even digital gaming. This smaller, more affordable university may be just the place for students wanting a 4-year experience at a smaller university.
To close out today's show, we wanted to talk more with our actors. So, Adriana, what is your favorite thing about acting?
My favorite thing about acting is probably just the community that comes with it. You know, every show comes with a new cast and group of people, and you end up getting really close and making really great friends.
What about you, Audrey?
I agree with what Adriana said. I think being with that amount of people for such an amount of time will really get you guys close, but I also like exploring, trying to be somebody else, or at least pretending, and I think that's really fun.
And Buck?
Well, to me, it would have to be the release of the buildup of all this emotion and work and sweat and everything that you put into this one show, just that one sense of euphoria at the very end.
So you would say you develop a bond, though, between your other actors. And what is the best experience you've had acting?
Best experience? Well, for me, it would have to be my 2019-2020 year, 2020-2021 year UIL show. I got an award for Honorable Mention All-Star Cast in our show of Tristine Place, and it was nice to feel appreciated and actually, awarded for something I've done.
That must have felt pretty good. And so what was your best experience acting?
I think my best experience acting was my entire 8th grade year before it got cut short for COVID, because when we did A Midsummer Night's Dream, I really got close with the people in the cast, and I really enjoyed the part that I got to play and doing scenes with all my friends.
What about you, Adriana?
My favorite experiences I've had acting was probably also in 8th grade during A Midsummer Night's Dream. We brought it to UIL and I won Honorable Mention All-Star Cast, which was just a really great moment for me.
And so, speaking on the topic of when you said COVID cut your short, how has COVID impacted your acting career, like in theater right now?
It definitely has shaped it a lot differently than I thought it would be. In 8th grade, we were working on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and we had to stop and leave. And then in the beginning of my freshman year, we had to do an online play, which was the 39 Steps, which we recorded through Zoom. So it was definitely difficult to navigate acting while also trying to keep the COVID regulations and keep everybody safe.
Would you say the same thing, Audrey?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. But it also meant that when we did 12th night, we had much smaller audiences, which can change things, but it also meant that less people came and saw our shows.
Buck?
I think COVID was a real big impact on live theater. It shut down plenty of plays on like Broadway and stuff, but for us specifically, we had to wear masks, and I feel like that is a big detriment to live theater. Because theater's all about the expression and the overall fulfilling of emotion to these audiences. And whenever your face is covered up by this duckbill, we had to wear duckbill masks, you can't really show what you're trying to show and portray, and it's harder. And so it was really difficult, but we got through it.
Well, it sounds like it was rough, but at least you got through it.
Mm-hmm.
But so, what do you plan to do in the future with your acting?
Oh, that's simple. I would love to become a film actor. That is the goal, the dream, the big cheese. But theater, live theater is always going to hold a special place in my heart, and I would love to travel the world performing in a troupe.
All right, well, that is all the time we have for Real Talk. To all our guests, thank you so much for being here today with us to talk about your acting. Make sure to stay tuned next week for another episode of Real Talk. Also, don't forget CHS. Be the reason someone smiles today.